Hello, my friends. Hope you are well today. This is Mark Smith with Family Tree Counseling Associates. It has gotten cold in the Indianapolis area. Yesterday I was driving my convertible in 72-degree sunshine, and today it's icy cold. So winter is upon us. I have another quiet, peaceful day, and I have things stirring in me that I feel compelled to share. When I make these videos, I'm trying to reach out to newly shattered people, and I try to do it in a way that sort of comes from me. I have a bit of poetry in me and a bit of imagery, and I want to use that to help put a little salve on your wounds, my suffering friends. Okay, now today, look at the picture that I'm going to put as the cover picture. If you'll focus in, there's a scary ass looking crocodile and a cute little bird deeply in its mouth, walking around like everything's good. There is no danger. The vision is really startling. With this video, I really don't have to make a video. I just have to show you the picture. That is a scary crocodile, and that is a little plover bird, an Egyptian plover bird. So the title today is How to Escape the Mouth of a Crocodile. If you've been in a relationship with a narcissist, with a borderline, with a cluster B, my friends, you have spent some time in the mouth of a crocodile. And I would suspect that you didn't know the danger that you were in. I'm going to start out by sharing a little bit of research about this Egyptian plover bird. As the name suggests, it is found in Egypt. Crocodiles on the Nile River are the ones that benefit from the services of these plover birds. Nile crocodiles are the second largest in the world, and they're so ferocious that they can walk to areas far away from their water home to catch cattle. These are big, bad, scary crocodiles that can take down a steer. When the Egyptian plover bird gets into the crocodile's mouth, she picks out the tiny bits of food that are stuck in his teeth. What does she do with them? Well, she eats them, and often that is the plover bird's complete diet. This cleans the crocodile's teeth and keeps his mouth fresh and free from infections. You see where I'm going with this? What we do is we pick our crocodile for our agenda. We're getting fed too. We're getting something from the deal, or we wouldn't be in there. People from a distance who recognize crocodiles, they look at us and they're like, dude, run! Get the hell out of the mouth of the crocodile. You're in danger. We don't listen. We live there. That's where we get fed. We're safe. So the plover bird gets her food, and the crocodile gets his mouth cleaned. In this way, both are able to help each other. There's a lot of focus on narcissistic supply, and the vampirist narcissist just sucks us dry. Hey, dudes, we sign on. We're getting something too. Yeah, they're the crocodile, we're the little bird. But we sign on. We don't see the danger. A crocodile is a carnivore, which means it eats all kinds of animals that live in the water, even cattle. And they have very strong jaws. They don't chew their food. They just inhale it. They swallow the entire prey into their stomachs where it's broken down. It is this swallowing that there are left bits of flesh stuck on their teeth. They can't pull out a toothbrush and brush their teeth, so they just keep their mouth open, and Mother Nature, in Mother Nature's wisdom, has provided Mother Nature's toothbrush, the plover bird. So it is while swallowing that the bits of flesh get stuck on their teeth. They recognize the crocodiles need these little birds when it is lying with his mouth open with bits of food stuck in between. So they get in his mouth boldly, eat the food, fly off, no danger. Isn't that picture just startling? And that's what we do to ourselves. I lived in the mouth of a ferocious, vicious crocodile for 6.5 years, and to be honest with you, I had no idea how much danger that I was in. And it really was a mutually parasitic relationship. She got to be legitimized in her family, where she had always been sort of the underachiever and the loser and the poverty-stricken one who couldn't hold a relationship together. She got to live in a beautiful home in Carmel and have a successful, well-educated man. She got legitimized. She also had the security of being taken care of financially, as well as the attention and nurturing of a good man. She also had the attention and nurturing, I think, of a bad man and multiple men at the same time. She was an addict. So I had this illusion that I had this attractive younger woman who loved me and provided me with my emotional and sexual needs. So I didn't know that it was an exchange for goods for services. I thought it was love. I didn't know what love was because how I was brought up. So she knew she was using me, but I was oblivious to the thing. And then on April 26th, her jaws snapped shut. So hear me, folks. This parable isn't about the crocodile. There's crocodiles. They're big. There was this awful story from Orlando where a little toddler was snatched up by a crocodile. Horrible story. We heard it in the news last summer. But when it comes to adult romantic relationships, if you find yourself in the mouth of a crocodile, it's because you bopped your way in there boldly, without enough fear, looking to get something out of it. So here's 10 observations from a plover bird like myself. Number 1, I was just so shocked and stunned because I didn't know she was a crocodile. Talk about cognitive dissonance. For a while, I was seriously entertaining the belief that maybe she had multiple personality disorder because this other person had emerged that I'd never seen before. And, when there's a natural disaster, or some kind of tragedy, people go into shock and they wrap them with warm blankets. And they keep they are observed for a period of time because you can die from shock. And many of us, that's what we experienced when we looked up and we saw this ain't no country girl with a heart of gold. This is a friggin' crocodile. And then snap, and damage is done. It was just such a nightmare for me to know that the woman who I thought genuinely loved me, in reality, she hated me because she felt compelled to make use of my services as a provider. And that means she was on the hook for some services, and she was in love with love, lust, whatever, narcissistic supply with another narcissist. So it's a shocker to think you're loved when you're hated. But for me, it goes back to my childhood. I thought my mom was a normal mom. I thought we were bonded from baby to mother. I thought she loved me honestly. I think when I raged and turned purple as an infant, I think she would go into a rage. And there was no empathy, there was no nurturing. It was all about her and her needs. Number 3, I was so ashamed and embarrassed to have everybody in the community know how little love and respect and regard she had for me, and just how clueless I was. You know, we may think that we're 40, 30 something, 50 something people, but everybody's just a wounded little kid walking around in an older body, especially when it comes to romantic love. So, number 5, I was just so wounded and sad and shocked that I was just so dispensable. She could walk away without a word, without an apology, forever after 6.5 years, because I'd been replaced. She had her financial deal worked out between her parents and maybe the new guy and I don't know what else, several guys maybe. But my quota had been replaced, and she could act out her rage upon me. But again, it ain't about the crocodile. It's about the silly little bird picking food from the crocodile's teeth. I didn't know how to go out and find real love. I only knew how to pick food out of a crocodile's teeth. That's all I got from my mom. My mom was a crocodile, and the food I got I picked out of her teeth. And I thought it was normal. I thought it was safe. Number 5, those 6.5 years, when I was living in the mouth of a crocodile, I was pretty happy. I mean, every once in a while, she'd close her jaws a little bit and bite me enough to make me bleed. But then her jaws would open and my wound would heal, and I'd eat little scraps of food, and I felt safe. We had birthday parties and Christmas and vacations and sitting on the porch, front porch sitting, and getting in the hot tub and making love. And I thought she was real, and I thought she was a real person, and I was happy living in the mouth of a fucking crocodile. So were you, probably. Number 6, the complex PTSD, the Narcissistic Abuse Syndrome, paralyzed me for about 1.5 years. When it comes for anything that's too intense, I'm still sort of paralyzed. I was in a relationship recently that had a lot of good things in it, but it was like in a way too good. I couldn't handle how intense the good stuff was because it was intense. Last night I was watching the movie Hacksaw Ridge, great movie. I took a Xanax halfway through because my PTSD symptoms started to kick in because of all the violence and the death and the horrific battle scenes that were going on. Number 7, I was getting fed, or what looked like getting fed. Really what it was reenacting the unresolved wounds with my mother. You get what I'm saying? I wasn't really getting fed with tenderness and love and good meals and somebody who genuinely cared about me. My payment, my food, was I get to work on my mommy issues. I get to have a counterfeit woman who had counterfeit love, and I get to be exploited financially in the deal. So there's a little quote about the blindness of love and how people like us can make ourselves at home in the mouths of crocodiles. It's by R.M. Drake. I admit she had a little madness, but I didn't care. She was magic, and I was on the edge. She wanted to fall, and I wanted to fly. And somewhere in between, we lost direction in our heads. We collided, and I lost my heart upon impact. I won't read it again. I admit she had a little madness. I always knew Betsy was, borderline. I just didn't know how dangerous borderlines were. I didn't care. She was magic. There was something in the romantic chemistry that floated my boat. That's because she was like my mama. And I was on the edge. She wanted to fall, but I wanted to fly. I wanted to be like Superman, scoop her up and save her. Somewhere in between, we lost direction in our heads. We both lost our senses of self. We collided, and I lost my heart upon impact. I didn't really lose my heart. It just got shattered and broken and bruised and lit on fire and severely wounded. My number 8 observation about my time living in the mouth of a crocodile is crocodiles also have flying monkey friends who advance smear campaigns, framing it around to where it wasn't her that was the crocodile and me that was the silly little bird. It gets turned around that I was the crocodile and she was the little bird living in the crocodile's mouth. When there's narcissists who have a really distorted vision of reality, they tell their tales with great passion, and they gather around themselves fellow victim mentality people, and they start burning witches who aren't witches at all. Many of the people who burned the witches were they themselves, the true witches. Number 9, I was really extremely fortunate to survive my time in the mouth of the crocodile. It almost killed me. I'm still scrapping every day to get out of debt, to not tremble, to hit jump shots without trembling. The other day I was playing basketball, and I was real trembly that day from my PTSD. And I didn't have a lot of coordination, and I actually slipped and fell twice without anybody tripping me. And my buddies just gave me all kinds of shit over it. They're like, "Mark, was it that line you fell over?" And I didn't want to tell them, dudes, I'm 57 years old and I'm filled with PTSD. And I made three-point jump shots today and won 4 games in a row, so shut the fuck up. If I fall down every once in a while, I'm still doing pretty good, my brothers. So you're very fortunate to survive if you escape out of the mouth of a crocodile. Number 10, you think that spending 6.5 years in the mouth of a crocodile, having the jaws clamped shut, taking a big chunk out of you, almost dying, almost ruining your finances, almost ruining your career, it'd make a fella sort of scared of crocodile mouths. But it's not really the case. After about a year, your love picker, your recreation of your childhood wounds that develops and causes and calibrates your sexuality, I found myself living in the mouth of yet another crocodile. This time it only took me 6 months to flee the mouth of the crocodile, and there was not a lot of damage done. The damage I did to myself. I don't blame the crocodile. I chose to settle for scraps from between her teeth, and I'm grateful to her, and I wish her blessing, and I'd like to be her friend. So the title was How to Escape the Mouth of a Crocodile. So I'm gonna share, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things that helped me to escape, and I'm mainly talking about the really damaging, vicious 6.5 year, 5,000 pound, crocodile on steroids. Number one, I learned how to love myself, and I learned how to nurture myself. Things I didn't learn growing up. Things nobody can do for you. If you're gonna live in love in a safe place instead of in a crocodile's mouth, you're going to have to learn how to love and nurture yourself. Number two, I learned how to love and value myself outside of the things I own, the things I do, and the things that I earn. I got a message today from one of my friends. She knows who she is, and she said, dude, you might want to not put your fancy Thunderbird sports car and your fancy motorcycle and your beautiful house and your high profile practice. You might not want to advertise them, because there's a big sign, on my forehead, available for gold diggers, with this Betsy. I was fresh meat. She invited me into her little apartment on our second date, and I waddled right in there, my little bird feet right into her mouth. Started picking at scraps, decayed scraps in her teeth, and going, hey, this is a pretty good deal. I feel pretty special eating the little decayed scraps off the mouth of a $5,000 pound ferocious, monstrous crocodile. Number three, I've learned eventually, thank God, to see women, in particular woman, as she is and not as I pretend she is. Eventually, in both these relationships, I looked over and I looked around and I thought, uh-oh. Grandma, why are your teeth so sharp? Why, better to eat you. I learned to listen to my friends. My friends had seen me for 6.5 years just living contentedly and happily in the mouth of a crocodile. Then they saw it snap shut, almost severed me in half. And they were left cleaning up the mess, sewing the little bird back together, nursing the bird back to life. And then I'm out there looking for more crocodiles, and they're like, dude, hello? This one has pretty sharp teeth too. I don't know that that's a safe place that you're standing in. I learned to listen to my body in this last relationship. As I said, I really didn't have a choice in exiting, because Oprah Winfrey said, if there are attachments that are draining energy from you and harming you, get out, get away from those attachments. And this particular attachment was a lot of fun, but I just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And having more and more PTSD symptoms. The attachment was draining me and harming me in every way. And I knew that if I didn't save myself, instead of the jaws snapping shut, I was just going to keep walking on down the throat of the crocodile. Next thing you know, I'd be digested, and there wouldn't be no Mark Smith. There would just be the crocodile left. I learned that my dignity, my healthy anger, and my self-respect had to get bigger than my fear of abandonment. My wounded, needy little boy was very attached to both of these women. And with the first one, not seeing it coming, and then being told of such horrific abandonment and then having her disappear, I still never heard a peep from her, and I don't try to contact her. Boy, I tell you what, little baby boy, purple raging infant inside me, she's still been showing up in my dreams, processing the loss. But I will never contact her because that is over. It served its purpose. And you have to get to where your dignity, your self-protection, your healthy anger, and your self-respect are bigger than that voraciously needy, wounded little kid. And it was hard for me to end this second relationship. I cared for her. I still do care for her well-being. But it wasn't good for me. And since I've been out of it, I've been thriving, like a boss, getting better every day. No, and then the last thing, number 7, you have to realize who you are. I thought I was this healed, money-making, heavily recruited by women, narcissistic abuse video guru who had his pick of a lot of women and was able to pick safe, loving women, and I could jump in and put a lot of energy into it and I'd be fine. Well, I was wrong on all counts. The truth is that a year and a half after a shattering like mine, you're still pretty fragile. And I am going to attract crocodiles, and I am going to settle for just wading around on their tongues, biting food in between their teeth. And I'm fragile. And so I've rethought my love life and decided to pick women of character, women who really love me, women who can provide a lovely nest, a lovely safe home, and not live in the dangerous and harmful mouth of ferocious crocodiles. It's all about the little bird, people. Get your focus off the crocodile. See them coming. Know who they are. That isn't grandma in bed. That's a big bad wolf. Know the difference. And this comes from healing the wounds of your childhood. And I'm grateful to crocodile number 1 for all the massive healing that I've been able to do. I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit, about the healing that takes place as a result of complex PTSD. And I'm very grateful, and I care a lot about who I refer. For me, the experience was, because it activated my PTSD, for me it was living in the mouth of a different crocodile, not nearly as dangerous to me as the other one was, but still wasn't a good match for who I really was and who I really am. But I wish her blessing. So be careful, folks. You can do better than living in the mouth of a crocodile. Find yourself a nice fluffy nest with somebody who really loves you. Another cute little bird, and fly off into the sunset and be happy and be blessed. If you haven't joined our YouTube channel, then why haven't you done so? You'll be able to be notified when we get these videos coming out. And then I have a really good book on abandonment issues, and one on shame and one on affair recovery. And I have 3 extended length videos on narcissistic abuse syndrome at familytreecounseling.com. Thank you for watching, folks. God bless. Go Cowboys!